Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Rob O'Day. I'm on location in Penticton with the incredibly talented Sarah Chrystal. How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm excited to dive into your story because I've known you for a long time, but learning the history of your music is going to be a fun story to dive into. So let's start off with who you are, how you got into music.
Okay, well, I'm Sarah Chrystal from Penticton. I actually started singing at 13. Did my first singing competition at 13 and won. Who would have thought, right? And then I started writing music with the radio, just listening to radio songs and changing the lyrics. And before you know it, at 15, I was signed to an independent record label in Vancouver, DNA Records Magma Studios. Worked with some pretty talented people there, and it kind of just ran off from that. I did Canadian Idol, made top 65 out of 132,000 people,
Wow.
and did a couple commercials, and then kind of just went on with my life for a little while and been writing music all around the world. I've been singing and performing in Mexico almost full time now in the winter. I have a full live band. A lot of people show up to those shows, so it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So coming from Penticton,
Yeah.
which is a small town, and
It is.
the music scene it's strong, but it's very small. How is it to get to be a professional singer in Mexico?
Honestly, it's like that 10,000 hour rule where you have to put your time in, and it's connections, rapport with people. I would do a show and I'd meet somebody, and then somebody that would know somebody else, and everybody knows somebody in the music industry. But just hustling through the music industry, it's one of the hardest industries to be a part of. And I just grinded. I was just hustling through it. One show turned into 10 people turned into 100, and now I'm 37 years old and back in the Okanagan trying to lay my roots down. Mexico was a little bit different. Learning Spanish songs is really hard. They do a lot of covers down there. So doing the originals wasn't the best thing to be, starting a singing career down there with. But my old manager got me hooked up with another agent downtown, Puerto Vallarta, and he came and watched me sing at a live jazz band, and he was hooked. So by then I had 3-4 shows a week, and yeah, the rest is history.
That's awesome. How was the experience of going from Penticton to Canadian Idol and doing that?
Well, I actually did it 3 years in a row.
Crazy. How does one get into that?
So they just posted it online. There was commercials on TV. My mom's like, you have to do this. First year I was 14, made it to the second round. Second year I was so sick. Still made it to the third round with the most awful cold of my entire life. Third year I went, and I didn't have my family supporting me in that moment, but in that moment when it's really in your face and it's make or break it, I hustled, I made it through, and going to Toronto and getting my golden ticket was by far one of the coolest things I had done. Unfortunately, being there and not making it past that top 50 round was heartbreaking, but it lit a fire under me to write better music, to do more shows, and it's all a hustle.
Were you going in doing originals?
I was doing some originals, and
That's
the producers,
awesome.
so what you do is you go into 3 different rooms, 3 different executive producers get to see you before you even see the celebrity judges.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nobody sees this stuff on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Going in there, and they want me to sing non-originals, so I would sing Kelly Clarkson, I would sing Whitney Houston. I did the national anthem one time because I was just so flustered. It's pretty nerve-wracking when you're in there because people are just there to judge you, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I pushed through and did pretty well. Made some really good friends from it and some good connections too.
And it's crazy to think, like at 15 you had made it as far as you did. Because I remember growing up with you and like seeing you working with Darren and stuff.
Darren Doherty,
yes,
yeah.
and like just seeing the skill level at that
Yeah.
was inspiring. Because like I was in a band at that point and I wasn't hiding like the hip hop behind the scenes kind of a thing. But to see like growing up and watching you go from Darren's studio
I know.
to now
It's wild.
performing in the winters in Mexico is
Yeah.
like, to me, that is the ultimate success story from Penticton.
Yeah, and also recording like at Arc House Studios, recording in professional studios and dealing with people that are beyond my like knowledge how good
Yeah.
they are. I mean, when I was 16 and I was signed to independent record labels, I was working with people like Kai Marcus, who worked with Tommy Lee, Methods of Mayhem. Like, walked into the studio one day and there's this guy with a mohawk and a hook in his nose and all these tatties, and I thought to myself, this guy's gonna make R&B pop music? Yeah, right. But he could pick up any instrument. He taught me how to play guitar, drums, all of it. Spent almost a whole summer with that gentleman and changed my life. Wrote some of my best songs with that guy, and extremely famous, extremely humble. They're the coolest people. Rock stars are the ones you want to work with.
So growing up, did your guys' family have music? Like, did you, or is it just the two of you, you and Jacob, that are musically gifted? Because you two are both absolutely mind-blowing.
He has exceeded all my expectations as to what he would become already, and I cannot wait to see.
He's a little prodigy.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what happens with my brother, because every day it's something new. Now he's got a looper and he's building beats on stage, and you know, I remember him being a little kid and following me around doing dance troupe on our back patio, and we would use the screen door as our mirror, and Jacob would be there, and you know, I don't know, there was always music in our house. Like, you'd go to the garage, there would be like Collective Soul or like the old Big Shiny Tunes. You'd go inside the house and Mom would be listening to, you know, Amanda Marshall's or Sheryl Crow, and there's always music on. But this little Fisher-Price toy that Jacob had with the tiny little mic and the cassette inside of it, I used to steal that from him, and he'd be looking for it. And I would take it from him and I would record the radio and me singing to the songs on the radio. And that's kind of where it all generated from, was this tiny little Fisher-Price toy. And I don't know if Jacob remembers that.
That's so cool.
I took it from him and I was using it. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
With going from being a musician or like a recording artist at such a young age.
Yes.
What were some of the biggest challenges you had to face?
Leaving my family, for sure. When I was actually working at the beach selling ice cream, and it was raining that day, and I was singing to the radio, and this guy in a big cigar boat at Squahaw Lake came and got fries from me, and he asked me, he's like, were you singing? Was that you singing? And I was like, nope, wasn't me. Like, just totally. I was 14 years old, right? 2 minutes later, he came back with a business card, and I gave it to my mom, and she's like, oh my God, Sarah, like, you have to go. And about a week later, I got in the car and I went to Vancouver, and I had just left everything that I had ever known. I was a child here. This was my home, you know, all my brothers, my mom and dad, and my dog. And there I am in Vancouver singing in Longsdale Key in this back alley we drove down, and you go into this dark, dingy area and they open the door and there's a multi-million-dollar studio in there, and I lived in that for 4 months, and it changed my life. And, you know, I wouldn't say that it was an obstacle that I had to overcome, but man, did it not create character for who I am now. Like I said, it happens when it's supposed to happen, I guess.
I find being that age and being at that level would be extremely intimidating.
Yeah, and I was around a lot of adults that were taking care of me, but also coming back and trying to go back to school. I was fully like immersed into the bullying, you know. People had thought that I had either gotten pregnant and ran away, or I went to jail. And I was like, no, actually I was in a recording studio, you know, with some professional producers. And I mean, kids will be kids, but I wouldn't change it. I would, yeah, especially in Penticton. But you know, that's the way kids are when they're growing up. And
musicians always say they have like their Rain Man. Some, like Eminem calls it as Rain Man. Bob Marley used to call it Jaw speaking through him. And it's like this higher entity that takes over our body, and we have no control over what is actually coming through the pen.
No.
The amount of times that I've written something and 3 months later I'm like, oh my God, that's what it means. Like, it was like a premonition. And it changes my life, and I'm like, that probably means nothing to anyone, but like I saw that months down the road and wrote about it. It's an intriguing thing. It's a very weird connection to the universe that just like flows through us, and I don't think there's an actual word or term that can fully captivate what that feeling is.
Oh no, you hit it right on the head. The universe, and it's flowing through you. It's intentional. It's coming from somewhere. It can be just an emotion, but moments of my life on a daily basis are making me write now. And you know, I put writing on the back burner for a little while, running a business, paying my bills, and there was just something lacking in my life, and I said, I have to get back into this. And now I've been actively singing in Mexico for 11 years. It's wild.
That's mind-blowing.
I know. This winter will be my 11th year, and I'm so fortunate that people come to see me and are a part of it.
And now you're diving into management and owning a record label as well.
Yes.
How do you see that journey going? Do you feel that you're going to end up being more in studio as the producer and helping artists, or do you think that you're just going to look for engineers and go hard in the studio yourself?
Speaking about that, so my plate is already full. Let's just grab something else and throw it on there.
I'm the same way.
That's me as my entrepreneurship just coming through. But I am not a producer. I actually bought a full home studio, tried to do it, and I realized I should just leave this up to the professionals. I'm a singer, I'm an artist, I'm a performer. So I would be more or less looking for talent and or engineers and scouting out really good studios to perform and to get that work out there.
Are you basing it out of Canada, or are you going to base it out of Mexico as well?
Actually, I'm planning on basing it out of Mexico. That won't be until 2026 because I'd like to start a home base first, make sure that works, and then extend it. You know, I want to do all the faults while I'm close to home.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it to transition from being a full-time musician in Mexico to come home and kind of live on vacation back home?
I mean, it's interesting. I've been to the beach a lot. But I mean, I can't complain. Sometimes I take it for granted, but I only have 4 months until I go back on my tour in Mexico, and it's just time to settle in and write another album. I'm actually working on a Christmas album right now, which I'm so excited about. It's the weirdest thing, writing Christmas songs while you're at the beach.
I really appreciate the concept of putting yourself into, like, I want to write something that most people don't.
Yes.
Because, like, there's only a handful of people who have written Christmas songs.
Yes.
And most of them are remixes.
Also, yes, I would like to do that in Spanish also. So it's a lot of work because, I mean, in Mexico, they do celebrate Christmas, but it's not like how we do it here.
No.
They're not decorating the outside of their houses and, you know.
I can imagine the cultural difference between there and here with Christmas would be kind of a hard adjustment because they're used to having these giant snow dumps and build snow forts and snowmen, and then you're chilling on the beach in the sunshine like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's very different. I really like the cultural differences though, knowing that it doesn't matter if there's snow on the ground.
They still love it.
Oh, they love it.
That's awesome.
And it's all about family too. Like, I've been invited to a lot of Mexican families' homes where there's 40 people around a table and they're making you eat, whether you're full or not. You're like, you here, have some more, you know, and that's what Christmas and holidays are about. So it shouldn't be too hard to write this next album. I actually have half of it done already, and it's just about hunkering down and planning and spending an evening at it and blowing it out.
I think when you force yourself to write music, it is also kind of like a good kick in the ass, if that makes sense. Because a lot of us will sit there and think about what we want to write, and we'll conjure it in our brain, but we never like put it onto paper and get it out.
Never do that. Never think, oh, I should write a song tonight and it should be about this. No, that's not how it works. You got to put some music on, something that inspires you to write. You know, it could be jazz, could be instrumental beats, could be whatever. And then just have that paper and pen, and you just kind of clean your house and sing around, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, you grab the paper and then it just starts. And honestly, it doesn't stop.
Inspiration, when it hits, it hits. And that's one thing that we've talked about too on the show is like, for people who aren't creatives, they don't understand that it's like, you have to do it. There's no like, if inspiration hits, there's no like, oh, I'll put it away for later. It's like, right now. And people who aren't creative, like when you're in a relationship with someone who's non-creative, they don't understand that.
Right.
They're like, you just left something half done and walked away to go start writing a song. What are you doing? And you're like, I can't explain it to you.
Yeah,
I'm
you
being
can't
forced.
explain it.
I'm physically being drawn to paper, pen.
Yes.
And it's like, there's as a creative, it's really hard to express that to people who aren't creatives. See,
the thing is, for me, it's something that I really truly love to do. I feel alive when I do it, especially like being on stage last weekend with you guys. It's something that you thrive to do. You want to do it. Now, for someone who's not creative, I can understand that would be really hard to figure that out. However, the creative mind is something that's like no other. I can't explain to you how it works, but I can tell you that when it happens, it's what I'm supposed to be doing in that moment, and being present in my life, something that I've really focused on, and it's making me write more. And if you've lost that creativity, you have to step back and make space for it. Because I took a lot of time off in the music industry, and I'm not regretful of it, because now I'm at this stage in my life, the best version of myself to put music out there. So that grace period was needed, but now it's like it's absorbing my everyday, like, oh, well, what can I write about now? Or like, what kind of show can I be a part of? And what commercials or auditions are there? And and as you know, Unknown Persona is doing the same thing. I can't even believe the things he's doing. He's like, oh, I've got a film on this day and a show on this day and an interview on that day. And eventually that space will get wider for your creativity. And you'll do more and more. And then, I mean, hopefully things really expand, but you can't predict the future. So.
And you kind of, that's one thing too, is like when something's presented to you, something I'm very big on lately is the universe giving me something and me just going full bore with it, because the moment you like waver on that, the universe is either going to take it away from you or it's not, you're never going to be presented with that same timing.
100%. Like, you don't get this day again. You don't get that hour again.
Or that moment of to be able to speak to that person that you could have changed your life. And those are the things that are like, to be present as an artist is very, especially nowadays right now, where a lot of my career, I was forcing myself to get big by 27. Because 30, I had to retire.
No pressure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how we're taught, is like, you have to make it by a certain age. If you don't hit your career by a certain age, you've got to give it up. And I'm realizing that the older I get, the more skill set I have, the more life experience I have, and the music I'm writing is better, and people gravitate towards it more.
Yeah, I find the timeline quite bogus. Like, you put that pressure on yourself, because if I was following those guidelines of what I had put for myself when I was younger, I would have stopped music at 20. Oh, I didn't get my $1 million record deal. Oh, it's done. When now the skill set that I have and the skill set you have, it's totally worth it.
I think it's just a perspective change, going from we want to be famous to we want to be successful.
Yes.
And I think being successful is just living off of what you love.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of people misconstrue that, and they think that they have to have like these $1 million houses and BMWs and stuff. And if your bills are paid doing what you love, and you've got a smile on your face every day, you're living the best life.
Yeah, and I actually do have a couple of friends that are highly famous, like not A-listers, but B-list stars that live in Vancouver. And I'll tell you that it is a really stressful industry to be able to be recognized like that. And sure, that's cute, and you got to sign autographs and stuff, but then your privacy is lacking. And that doesn't mean that you're necessarily paying your bills, because if you're getting up there and you're up in that A-B side, you know, people are taking a chunk of your check. And that's the main reason why I started Chrystal Records, was so that I owned all the rights to my music, to my beats, to everything.
I was going to ask, because you were working with the pop industry, and an industry where it is very 360.
Cutthroat.
It is very, the 360 deals scare me, and I've turned 2 of them down, and I don't regret them.
Yeah.
I kind of do one of them, because I mean, to work with Snack still at this level where he's at now, and Merck would be amazing, but I've worked with them many times, and they're great guys, but even them, you see the stress they have.
Yeah.
I watch my friends who are, like you said, A-list or B-listers, that are just, their lives are so stressful because everybody is encompassed in it.
Yeah, everybody needs a piece. They all need a piece, because it's a team effort. You can't do it on your own. 100% you need a team. So then how are those people paying their bills? Well, they're paying them off of you. So the music industry, as cutthroat as it is, you have to make sure that you're doing it right, and that people are getting percentages as you want, and that you're not getting ripped off from record labels and record deals. Sure, you can have a $3 million record label come at you and the deal be on the table, but then you get 80% of that taken from you, which means you're really not getting any of it. Plus, you got 2 other albums you have to do with that record deal, and if you don't do it in the time frame, that's breach of contract. Now you're getting sued. It's like, okay.
And that's the things that people don't realize is that's where a 360 deal is very scary, and why independent is the way to go. It's a lot harder though. Like, you can sign a 360 deal, but if they're giving you $1 million for that album, you owe them 1.5 and a second album on top of it. And if you don't give it to them, then you're in debt. And that's where that's where you see artists who eventually re-release their albums remastered, and it's finally they got the rights to their album back.
Yes.
And now like they can start selling it.
Well, Taylor Swift did that.
Exactly.
And I see why.
There's a lot, and like there's only a handful of artists who have gotten out of major record deals without losing anything. Radiohead, 30 Seconds to Mars, and
Great bands.
Yeah,
Holy.
and one other female singer. I can't remember who it was, but to get out of a major deal is very scary. And I think that when it's presented to you at such a young age, it's the only thing you want. So you're naturally going to take it, right?
Yes.
Like, yes, I got it. And then you start to see the actual behind the works, and it's like, it's worth it, but you really got to make it. You've got to cater your music career to you and how you want to be as a person.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the hardest thing to do, is how do you go about that.
And, you know, they're the cake, you know, the money, the backing money is the cake. Well, I'm the cake. I'm the artist. I write the songs. I've got the voice. So what are you going to do for me to be a part of my, you know, dream, instead of, we're going to take 80% of your dream and make it happen? Well, it's already happening on a daily basis. So why would I want to do that? And then this is a conversation for younger artists too, to not get swarmed up in that, to not get trapped by the money or trapped by the glittery things, because it all seems shiny and stuff. But that, let me tell you, I've been a part of some record deals, and they're not that shiny. I would much rather be doing it on my own. So Chrystal Records is where it starts. And yeah, now I have 2 artists under my label and 3 albums now. So we'll see what happens.
It just takes the vision and hard work.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of shady situations with record deals and being in the industry. There's a lot of people who are only in it to take advantage of artists.
Totally. Absolutely.
Especially in, like, the industry that R&B, pop singing, and singer-songwriters, like, metal, it doesn't happen to as often because people don't really care. Hip-hop, it happens if you're super talented, but it seems that everybody always seems to, like, mentally abuse singer-songwriters, pop singers, and R&B artists.
Right.
Because they usually capture them when they're young and get them into the industry and don't know how to, like, get out of it.
That's literally what I went through. I was, you know, signed to that label for 2 years, and I wanted out so bad. But when I wanted to leave, the lawyers were saying, like, look, he owns everything. And there was a divorce that was going through that whole company, and the manager that I had at the time, and she wanted to take it all too. And then I was stuck there with no rights. I actually still don't have those songs in my plethora of music right now because they're still holding on to it. So there's the option there to rewrite them and to re-record them, which I will, because they're fantastic. But that's just a small portion of what, you know, the legal battles can be like when you are in the middle of a music industry contract that is not in your own favor. It's in a favor of them making money off of you. And I am the cake. I totally get it. And I'd want to make money off me too, but it's just a smarter way of doing business, doing it on your own and putting your own hard work into it. It's just more gratifying. Yeah, you're in it.
Yeah, I know what it's like to not have the your glass copies for your albums. It's a very heartbreaking thing. Our very first album with Storm the Empires was on a Florida label, and they split up. And when the label broke down, they have all the rights to the songs, all the glass copies. So I can't reprint our album without going and asking the owner. So we just finished our album and released it, and it's 100% independent. And like I just paid for the CDs to come in, so I'm like a month away from getting CDs.
Yeah.
So it's like that was more of fulfilling for me, was like actually like dropping the money and being like, we just dropped X amount of money on CDs, boys. They're on the way. Like the label's not sending it to us. That's ours. We did that. Yeah. So it's a great feeling, but at the end of the day, it's like the amount of work you got to put in. Yeah. It's almost like it doesn't transition or relate. Like
like reaping the rewards could be 20 years down the road, if ever, if you're lucky. But, you know, the feeling of putting it out and owning it is a very special feeling. I just dropped a lot of money
I can imagine.
On that EP, plus merch and hoodies. And, you know, some things fell through, and that's okay. But that's a learning curve also, right? But that money that is in that EP is worth every second of it.
Well, investing in yourself is never a bad investment.
No.
And I think a lot of people are scared to put the money into themselves, the time and the energy, because they're fear that if they fail. But if you fail for yourself, there's not a failure.
Yeah.
Like if you fail for somebody else, then you failed.
Well, yeah, that's what people like to say, but my failures have always made me become better.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so that didn't work. Well, what else can I do? Or how can I change that and make it better? And honestly, that's the growth of the music industry also, is I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't fail all those times. You know, let's say that I did get to the top 10 of Canadian Idol. I would have had a record label coming up to me and ask me if I wanted to do an album. Sure. And then where'd all those songs go? Where'd all that music go? So like things do happen in the right timing for me. But these next albums that are coming up are pretty good.
And that's the thing too.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think it's, you can see the pride on your face when you're talking about it because it is 100% you.
Oh yeah.
And it's all like, you're like, it's you.
It's all me, yeah.
Authentically you from start to finish. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing that you can do as an artist is to be able to give yourself that, this is me.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. Like there's
100%.
no other control from somebody else or input on somebody else.
No. I do write music, like I said, about my actual events in my life. And I think that that's the only way to touch base with my fans, and that's how people will grab onto it. You're having a hard day, well, listen to this song. You know, your ex cheated on you, well, I got a song for that too. You know, your car broke down. I mean, this isn't country, but I'm sure I got a song for that, you know?
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being able to write about life lessons. That's one thing I kind of am really bored about working in metal and excited to be back into hip-hop is, with hip-hop, I have no limit to what I want to say. If I want to write a song about being depressed, I can. If I want to write a song about being angry, I can. If I want to write a song about let's dance at a club, I can. There's no limit to it, but in the band, I'm very limited to what I can say.
That's true.
Because I'm representing 4 people.
Yeah.
And their visions and their voice. And if I see something that doesn't, like I tend to write metal as like we're a very like united war army. We fight together, we're storm the empire, right? But it's like, they're not like that.
No.
They're very peaceful, laid back, quiet guys. They're not like, let's storm the world. So it's like, I've got to kind of like mentally put myself in a position where it's like, what are we writing about?
Yeah.
So the last album actually touches a lot about mental health versus like creating these false stories that are like fake Lord of the Rings stories and metal, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's not entertaining to me anymore.
No.
It's fun to listen to, but I want, like when I'm on stage and I see kids listening to it, they don't react as like when they are when I'm doing hip hop. When I see somebody react to me my hip hop, they're like, whoa, that line hit me. Or like, you can just see it working through their brains as like somebody screaming at me is different.
Well, I've been at 2 of the shows with you and I was absolutely blown away. I looked at Jacob and I just said, what the hell is that? And he's like, I know. I'm like, you didn't tell me that he could do that. And
nobody knows.
I was in awe. I literally just sat there like with my hands like this, just watching you. And every song was a banger. Every note. You were singing, you were rapping, the lyrics. I was completely blown away.
I feel come at home when I'm in hip hop. And even I think everybody like realizes it. Like I stepped into metal. I quit hip hop, took 5 years off and joined a metal band. Yeah. And it was like, why? And I was like, I didn't even know how to scream.
Try something
I
new.
lied to them. I was like, yeah, I know how to scream and sing. I was like, I knew how to sing, but not scream.
Oh, you do.
So I put myself, through a crash course of like 3 months of straight learning techniques for vocal techniques. And then I sucked as a vocalist for a long time. And then we had another vocalist, and then I actually took the actual time to learn how to be a screamer and came back, and the album is like, it's beast, but it's like, it's not me.
Yeah.
I love being on stage with the band and playing with them, but there's just something different about being on stage doing hip hop and like hearing the crowd. They know the lyrics and they're like, they're vibing with it and everybody's dancing. And it's a total different world, and it's something I missed. And like walking away from it was a really hard choice.
I'm glad that you're back.
I am too, because like it is what we need as creatives. Like 100%. Walking away from music is so hard to make that decision to be like, I'm done. You're never going to be done. No. You're always secretly writing and thinking about music. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, and that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like I'm never going to stop. And that's why I'm like, at this point in my life, it makes more sense to just go full bore with music. And if I fail, then I failed. Yep. I'm not going to worry about a backup plan. I'm not going to worry about what society thinks I should be doing as a parent. Because like, if I can inspire my kids to pick up a microphone or a pen, so be it. You just start with that little Fisher-Price toy. That's all you need. Exactly, right? And that's kind of the thing too, is it doesn't take a lot to make your dreams. No. It just takes a lot of you. Yeah, you actually have to believe that you can do it. All that self-doubt usually comes from either generational programming or just friends doubting you, and you never want to take advice from people that are doing less than you.
especially in the music industry. Everybody's so unique. You just have to push through. You got to go right through it and try to put those insecurities on the back burner, because if I listened to that self-doubt when I was younger, which was every stage I was on, oh, I wasn't good enough, oh, the mic wasn't set properly, and I still do it to this day. Like, oh, did that sound okay? You know, and people are like, this sounded amazing, and you know,
people don't notice it.
You're like, no, there was like this little part, like 3 minutes in, people think you're crazy. But it's the perfectionists in us as creators that we want to build something really great, really memorable, and I want to put out good products. Especially when it comes to my music.
I think that grind is what's lacking nowadays, and I think you can see it kind of coming back with some of the younger kids. But I think it's just there was a huge gap of artists weren't focused on inspiring the next generation. They were focused on like, I'm popular, look at me. Social media has made me huge. So it's there was like this huge disconnect for the last like 5-6 years in the music industry, and all of a sudden I'm noticing it through them utilizing social media now, that they're actually creating these huge followings. But they're not doing it by, look at me, they're just being authentic online.
100%. And the music industry has changed a lot too. Back in the day, there wasn't social media. We didn't have Facebook and Snapchat and all the stuff. You know, you had to grind. You had to be in the shows, you had to be in the rooms with the right people. I had a couple interviews with some really incredible executive producers when I was very, very young, and I still dread it to this day that I did not sing in person, because they had not heard any of my music. They just had heard about me, and I sat down, I was at the table, and I just think to myself, you know, if I had just sang one line, I could have been somewhere else. But it's about that hustle, right? So now anybody can be a singer. Now, if that makes you a good singer, I don't know. Anybody can write a song. Does that make you a good songwriter? No. Do you have 1 million followers? Does that make you popular? It could. You could get canceled tomorrow by one bad comment. But the longevity of the music industry and doing it this way is that I'm not going anywhere. I don't plan on going anywhere for a while. And a lot of the people that have made it in their later years are because they're seasoned. They're ready. Maybe I wasn't ready back then.
I definitely find ego death is the one thing every artist needs.
Yes.
I definitely needed it, because especially being a hip hop artist, like when you're constantly having people tell you like, oh, you're so good, and at first you don't believe it.
Right.
Because you're self-conscious and you're an artist, and eventually that, pardon me, it feeds to your head. Of course, I'm the one who swears in the episode.
It's his fault.
I'm marking it at the time. I'm marking my time. 1:36.
Yeah.
11:36. It's definitely a difficult thing to navigate, and that's like the one thing is like, I'm super self-conscious. I don't like people thinking that I'm skilled at things. Like, if I'm skilled at something, I'm okay with that, but I don't like being told it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like,
well, you suck then.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I get really shy, because like that's all I'm good at is music and arts and stuff, but it's like there's so much more to it behind, like, inside here, that people like don't, when they sit down with me and actually talk, they're usually mind blown by like how intricate and deep I am mentally, and then that transcends, then they start to understand my music, because my music itself is like, this album was probably the most straightforward album I've ever put out. Every other album was like, there was metaphors and like double entendres they had to work through just to understand anything, and no one ever got it. No. They didn't understand it. It was like, it's good songs, but this album, every time I hear somebody say anxiety is helping me make it through right now, because I can relate to it, it's like, it's full heart. There's no misconstruing anything from any of those songs, except for maybe On My Own Again, because there's just like,
it's good.
There's so some good lines like, so let me get it started. I'll cut your sleeve and leave you open-hearted. It's just like, those are just quick, witty lines. They don't have any meaning.
They do to me. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, other people will take them, but to me, it's just like, oh, that's a cool line. Yeah. But it's like the lines, like deeper lines, like things like, can't think of it right now, but like certain phrases that just really hit home, and they're just because they're straightforward. There's no like, oh, they're hidden behind a metaphor. You have to find it. Right.
Well, I actually had somebody ask me once, you know, what does this song mean, or what do the lyrics mean? And the beauty about my music, and about anybody's music, is it can mean whatever you want. You could listen to my album and you could take it a completely different way than someone else that I know. But in those moments, it could be about, you know, a heartbreak or a love that you're finding, or however you want to, you know, find that in your music. But what I wrote about, you're not going to find that. I'm not going to put people's names in it, even though they know who they are and they listen to it. But your belief in that song and what you connect to is totally solo relationship with you in that song. That's my thing with music, is that every song is about what you want it to be, no matter how good or bad your day is going.
If you were to change anything in the music industry, what do you think it would be?
Just the connection between the higher ups and the middlemen and the artists themselves. Because I think the people that have the skills and the tools should be more easily accessible to the smaller people as we are right now. If I had just a couple moments with the right person in the right room, I'd have the answers to some of those questions. Be able to maneuver my label a little bit better, but there's always that middleman that's got to take a chunk before you can get to the top, and it's unfortunate, but that's what I would change, just to have a little bit more access to the people that really have, like, can I just call Dr. Dre up for a minute and have like a 3-minute conversation? Or, you know, Ed Sheeran, oh, let's call Post Malone for 10 minutes and see if he's got time to chat. Like, that's all that you would need, right? And sometimes those people they're too busy and they're not accessible, but that would be cool to have something along those lines, a better direct line to those types of people.
If you had advice for an aspiring artist who wanted to become a singer, what do you think would be the first step for them?
Practice, practice, practice. That 10,000 hours is the most important. If you're not dedicated to the trial and error of messing up and learning your craft, how can you ever master it? You don't just jump into the water and start swimming. Like, you have to take lessons. You have to do the things that are going to benefit you in that space and hold space for you, and make sure that you're making connections with people that are doing the same thing, and find people that are doing what you want to do and then confide in them, mentor them, you know, be a part of that, you know, that space for them.
Well, Sarah, I want to thank you for having me, and
Thank you.
Getting to sit down and talk to you is it's inspiring. We don't get to sit down with a lot of female singers, and female singers are some of the most talented people on the planet. You can't beat female pipes. I will always say that a female vocalist will always top a male vocalist.
Thank you.
There's no way you can beat a female singing. And like, some of my favorite artists are Tracy Chapman, you know, like, you can't beat that.
No.
And it's so, I want to thank you for sitting down.
Awesome.
Getting
Thank
to
you.
do this.
Can't wait to do this again.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.